Sorry, it's taking forever.
It says it is now streaming live.
Mhm. Now I just have to remember how to mute it. There it is. Okay. Let me get back to you guys. And I think we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, we call this meeting to order and please take roll.
Let's see. I have Ken Whitco,
Here.
James Hairston, Mark Fila,
Here.
Alan Hart,
Here.
Ray Dotson,
Here.
Mark Terry.
Here.
Okay, we have new member Todd Wolf. Welcome.
Thank you.
And then Councilmember Mike Brandstetter said he wasn't going to make it. He did say he was going to try to get somebody, but I don't see anybody else here yet. I don't know if they're not. We have Assistant Scott Adams. And then Chief Zorro is here. He's in another meeting. So when we get to him, I'll excuse myself really quick and pull him in. But I think that's everybody, if I've forgotten somebody. I know that they chose a youth council, but they did it while I was gone. So I was not able to invite them to this meeting. I'll make sure they get included for the next one.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Get back here. Okay, so first of all, I want to say welcome to Todd Wolf, who's newest member. Thanks for being a part of the PSAC board. Todd, appreciate it. I think we've talked a few times before. And I think I even gave you a card and tried to recruit you, if I remember that correctly. Is that right?
I think so, at the Blue Ribbon for that new restaurant.
Yes, exactly. That is right. So that works. Meet people at a restaurant, it always kind of works. Appreciate that. So, okay, first item of business is approval of minutes. I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to read them.
Move the minutes be accepted as presented.
Has been moved. We have a second.
Second.
So Mark has moved. I think Ray was seconded. And all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Minutes have been approved. Next, we have public comments. Did we have anybody that was on public comments?
I received no emails.
Okay, great.
So, Mr. Chairman, you want to introduce that new lady that's joined us here?
New lady. Oh, yeah. The new lady. Yes. I'm trying to see, Joanna, can you pronounce your last name for us, please?
Yes, it's Laverne.
Laverne. Okay. That's easy.
That's
Right, it's easier than it looks. Sorry.
Yeah.
I set you up for that, Kim.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving on, so we call public comments closed. City council liaison comments. Councilman Brandstetter is not with us, but he did send out the fireworks ordinance that was newly adopted. Hang on just a moment. Is there any comment about that? Is this the time to do that, Joanna? I think.
I think so, yeah. I don't have any, but now would be a good time. We can certainly make sure he gets them. Sorry.
Okay. Did anybody have a chance, or everybody have a chance to kind of look that over and read through it a little bit? I did. I only saw one little typo that might be a typo, but it says on, and I'm not that it really matters. Where is it? Did I lose it? Oh, grunt. Oh no, here it is. Basically, I think the only change that is really relevant or that we can understand is that it is now a 12-hour period on July 4th and a 14-hour period on December 31st and January 1st. So that eliminates, I can't remember, was it 1 or 2 days, but so
I don't think it's 14 hours. I think it's only 3 hours the way I read it.
oh, does it say 11
Or 2
p.m.?
hours.
Okay, my mistake. I thought it said 11 a.m. So thank
Yeah,
you for,
it's like 2 hours.
okay, perfect. Yeah, that's even better than 14. So what I did see though, I'm not sure, Joanna, if this is necessary to bring up now, but under definitions, first page 1 under definitions, third paragraph, it refers to the common fireworks as opposed to consumer fireworks is what they've blocked out. So I don't know if that's a big deal, but anyway, that's the only thing I saw.
Got it down.
Any comments? I wasn't there actually. Sorry, I keep asking and then I interrupt. I completely could not make it for that meeting. The only other comment that I would have is that I wondered if the council actually would be a good question for Councilmember Branstetter, if the council addressed enforcement, or maybe that's a good question for Chief Zarro, because I'm not sure that this really, anyway, I'm not sure exactly if it's going to matter all that much. And then, was there any kind of comments or anything addressed about public education for the public about the dangers and just trying to work through that? So that's only my thoughts. Anybody else?
Yeah, bringing up that common and consumer, if you look at it, it says consumer in the first paragraph, and then right below it, it refers back to common fireworks. I don't know if that's meant to be or not.
If that's a what?
I don't know if that's meant to stay like that. Like I said, it says dangerous fireworks include all fireworks which do not meet the common fireworks. Right. However, they strike the word common right above it, the paragraph right above it. So.
Right. Okay. Well, any other comments? Great. Okay. Moving on. As soon as I can find my agenda. Oh man.
Fire department.
Okay, good. Thank you. I've lost my agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Fellow committee members, thanks for having me. Yeah, I got a few things on here. Fire department, we're still staying safe, social distancing. Our lobbies are still closed, but we do have our business line phone number so people can get a hold of us right away if they need to drop something off or have a question. We have resources for people. It was kind of a busy kind of end of summer, month of September. As a lot of you probably followed a lot of the vegetation fires, the fires that were kind of happening all over the state. We had lots of fires on I-5 that kind of balled things up there for a few days. We also assisted with the Graham fire and the Bonnie Lake 410 fires up there for a few days. It was kind of a crazy week there for a little bit with all the smoke in the air. We also had a few fires. We had, if you followed very much on the news, we had that pallet fire in Lakewood over there by the BNI off Durango. A large stack of pallets were lost in a couple of small buildings. And then we had a couple of abandoned structures up in Woodbrook. I wanted to kind of do a shout out to Lakewood PD. If you're familiar with that area up there, if you've ever driven up there, there's a lot of abandoned homes that have been, our understanding that they've been purchased by a large group that are going to clear that area. And they're going to put some bigger warehouses over there. But there's some homeless folks that get in there and, subsequently start a fire or something happens. But LPD's really good about meeting fire folks out there before we go in, not knowing that this is an abandoned structure. They're certainly there to help us out and let us know that they've had some issues with homeless folks. We had a fire over off 96th over there. There's a Windsor Court mobile home park. There's quite a few back in there. It's about 150 mobile homes. There's probably good 90% of those folks back in there speak Spanish. And so I just wanted to highlight one of the programs that we have. We were able to get some grant money and hire a Spanish-speaking smoke alarm coordinator. And the gentleman had helped coordinate some installations last fall. And this particular mobile home that caught fire, they had a bathroom fire, and they were alerted by alarms that we had installed. And so that was a good story. And this same Spanish-speaking coordinator was able to help us with some interpretation as well, because they weren't able to tell us what happened or any kind of a story. So we're able to use that same gentleman and get them some resources, because they certainly don't have the means to fix up their mobile home. So we're trying to work with the city and get them some resources to get them back in there as well. A couple other good things. We got Fall Safety Day coming up. It's not the traditional fall safety that we normally do. It's going to be kind of a drive-through type thing where folks will drive in. Lakewood PD is going to help us with some traffic control. Folks will drive in. We'll push out all this information to the schools and through social media, but they'll drive into 5000 Steilacoom Boulevard, one of our big training stations over there. Folks will drive up. We'll give them kind of a goodie bag, a little bit of candy for kiddos, and we'll drop some free pumpkins in their trunks if they need it. So we have about 1,000 pumpkins that will be coming from Puyallup that we'll have ready for folks there. And a follow-up with Mark. Terry asked a question a couple months ago about, if we're working on pushing information out to families and the kiddos about smoke alarm safety and just general kind of home safety. And this month is Fire Prevention Week. And so the big push topic this year has been kitchen safety. So they've found that a lot of kids, are staying home and they're cooking and doing things like that. So we actually did a couple of videos that are being pushed out through Clover Park schools through their Peach Jar. So families will get that. And then we're also doing a big push on our smoke alarm program with Martin, and our Monitor, which is our annual fire department kind of happenings, is going to be out at the end of the month. So we'll have a lot of information in there where folks can call and we can come out and check out their alarms and give them whatever they might need. I don't know if I talked too fast or not fast enough, but anyone have any questions? Sorry to be so long-winded.
I don't know how to send that to you. How do I send that to you?
What is
Uh,
the,
just-
what was the fall safety?
Yeah, the Fall Safety Day, usually it's a kind of a carnival type setting where kids can come in, and we have lots of vendors where they can get, home safety tips and, a couple little pieces of candy, and they can dress up and, we can have fun. It's going to look totally different this year because everybody's just going to stay in their car and they're going to drive up, and we're going to give them a bag with a bunch of information from vendors about safety and things like that. If they're going to go trick-or-treating, how to be safe, and then give them a free pumpkin. It's always been about kind of giving things away, free pumpkins, things like that. We have a lot of folks that look forward to that just because, oftentimes they can't afford to go out and buy 3 or 4 pumpkins for the kiddos. So it's been a way to connect.
Thank you for that. What was the day, the actual date? I
Sorry,
should say.
the 24th
Thank you.
of October. Yeah, from 10 to 1. 5000 Steilacoom Boulevard, that main training station there.
Hey, I'd just like to make a comment. Thank you very much. It sounds like you guys have a great education program in place, multiple levels, multiple venues and everything like that. And I really appreciate that because, I write threat assessments and stuff like that all the time and look at fire as one of those. And I think education is one of those things that really lean into the prevention aspect versus the responding to when it actually occurs. So thank you. And a great point. A lot of kids are staying at home right now, and parents may not be around, and so they're cooking on their own. So
Yeah, Absolutely.
Is there
Last
Any
month,
other
you talked about a Squad 21, a suburban-like vehicle that was going to be around town.
Yeah, I can do some research and maybe for our next meeting, kind of have that as a little bit of a focus. But that program with Squad 21, if you've seen them around, it's kind of an older style suburban. We have a couple of firefighters in there, and they've been driving around and responding to kind of lower acuity type calls. Like falls, small grass fires, where just a small little water extinguisher can put that out, rather than actually taking an engine or a ladder truck at a service to do those short calls. That Suburban can move around quite a bit quicker and keep those folks in service for the more acute calls. And
What,
so
51?
sorry. And just, yeah, it's a pilot that we're doing until the end of the year, and then determine whether or not this is going to be a permanent thing. It's really already kind of proven itself, and it's probably going to be something that we're definitely going to continue with. So,
Thank you. I still have a lot of neighbors that are amazed when they see the medic show up and then a ladder or a whatever variety of big trucks, and they can't reconcile it with hearing the levy presentations about how many $1,000s a minute it takes to run those big trucks and how manpower hours. So I'm interested to see how that evolves, and I may ask the future chairman of PSAC if one of the department's representatives can come and re-inform me on why that still works out. It's difficult for me to reconcile, even myself. But when I'm standing there, everybody else is saying, why are they bringing that big truck? And why are there 6 people here? I said, well, I don't want to do the chief disservice by trying to regurgitate his well-rehearsed justification.
yeah, we can make that happen. You just let me know a date and a meeting, and we can make that happen.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Ray.
any other comments or questions for Assistant Chief? Thank you. Appreciate that, Scott. Nice
You're
update.
welcome.
I see that Chief Zarro has also joined us. So we'll move on to Police Department comments.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry I couldn't join you for the entire meeting. I've got myself double booked this evening and working on a long overdue project with our command staff and our policy manual. Just a few things to cover. It's been kind of busy lately. We had a homicide this last week that you'll probably see something in the news tomorrow about an arrest that our detectives made after some very good work. And there's just a lot of good police work going on that you don't often hear about. A couple of new things. I guess the fireworks ordinance. I don't know if I missed discussion about that, but obviously something that's new. We have, it doesn't go into effect until 2022. So what our plan is to have a big education push for 21 and 22. We don't plan on doing a massive enforcement right away, but a couple of years of solid education before we move into enforcement. So that's sort of our implementation plan of the new. It doesn't go into effect until 2020. Oh, sorry, was hearing my own voice. The other thing I've been working on quite a bit is the Pierce County Force Investigation Team, and that is the new countywide team, and that's established to meet the state criteria, the new state law for investigating officer deadly uses of force. Involves every law enforcement agency in the county to include the state patrol. It's no small feat to get all those agencies on the same page. So far, we're moving along pretty well. We've actually had one official activation for Tacoma's last officer-involved shooting. Knock on wood, things went fairly smoothly. We're still in the process of developing protocols and getting everything in place to actually meet the WAC and the full law, but we're definitely making progress. Another thing that's sort of front and center for me right now is the city's budget. We've got, it's been proposed for the 21-22, our proposed budget's out there. We have presentations next Wednesday, I believe, to the council, or I do, on just the police department budget. So hopefully we can get through that. We're still trying to overcome a lot of the economic impacts of COVID. So we're not sure what the next 2 years is going to hold completely with that in mind. One of the things that was impacted this year was hiring. We had 2 entry-level officers that we actually had conditional offers out to, and we had to retract those or at least freeze them until we got through a lot of the COVID stuff, until we had a good handle on the impacts of COVID or the economic impacts. We'll see what happens when we get through the next couple of weeks, if we're able to unfreeze those and bring them on and get them to the academy. But that's been a pretty big impact for us. Still dealing with, the speaking of COVID, some of the new protocols related to COVID, and reminding everybody not to get complacent and use precautions when you're out in the public and around each other, and keep in mind what constitutes an exposure. A lot of that, we did have our assistant chief go, John Unford, go to Wenatchee with the Pierce County Incident Management Team to help them manage their COVID outbreak that they were having. So it's not just COVID here that we're managing, we're helping other parts of the state. And we did have, we had the little firestorm that came through, literally. We had somebody kept our partners at West Pierce busy, but like everybody else, the biggest impact to us was the air quality, making sure that everybody was doing what they could to stay healthy and stay inside when they could, and try and find clean air to breathe. That's about it with what we've got going on. Be happy to answer any questions regarding anything I've covered or otherwise.
Hey, Chief, this is Jim Harrison. When I see a couple of cruisers in the neighborhood, and usually there's 2, there's been a couple occasions there's 2, how do I get information about why they're here or what's going on? Because I don't want to disturb the officers. It's a private community. So how do we go about addressing that?
I'm going to say you can email me for now, and I can look into it. It's kind of, there isn't like a database where you can look up and see what the cars were doing there without knowing more, ironically, about why they were there. So you almost need to know why they were there to find out more details. But if there was a specific date and time for any incident that you have in mind, you can feel free to email me and I can research as best I can. If it starts happening with more frequency, then maybe there's a problem spot or a hot spot in your neighborhood that I might connect you with a neighborhood police officer. But in the meantime, if there's something that you just have a general curiosity about, you can email me and I'll look into it. But what I would need is the location and the date and time.
Okay. And we had our resource officer too, but she's gone now. So don't have that to fall back on if we want to get information. Gail's gone. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Chief, yeah, I have one. It is off topic, but I just want to ask about the tagging and all the graffiti going on. I mean, it's just, when I drive around, it looks like it's just gotten way out of hand. Just, I guess, a question on, you may not even be able to speak about it if there's ongoing activities, law enforcement activities, but I'm just, obviously we see it. So if there's anything you can say about that. Well,
This is actually the first time I've heard any complaints raised about graffiti in quite a while. It definitely ebbs and flows. Like similar to property crimes, you have just a couple people that are usually out creating most of the havoc. And depending on their current incarceration status or where, they're wherever they happen to be, you will see, some tagging and, for a while, and then it'll disappear. Then they'll get out and you'll see tagging again. So that's that's kind of why we see an ebb and flow to it. And it's really hard for us to get our hands on somebody. We have made some good arrests in the past. We actually had one young man finally get sentenced to significant, like, months in jail because he was so prolific and causing so much damage, and was given so many chances to not do it, but he kept being persistent about it, that he got some jail time. So right now, I haven't, like I said, for a while, I haven't heard anything until you brought up your concern tonight. If there's specific areas where you're seeing it, My Lakewood 311 is a good place to report it, and that's a good way for us to start tracking it and seeing where the locations are, and what we look for are similarities between the tagging, so we know, maybe who it is, because really it's almost like a signature for a lot of them. You see the same types of tags, the same phrases, the same pictures that they use, and that allows us to tie them together and sometimes identify who it is just by that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, I have a question. I was reading on one of the neighborhood websites about someone who had a car window smashed. And the complaint was that they were having difficulties reporting it through the online system. When that happens, can they just go to My Lakewood 311? Apparently, some people have a hard time using the crime reporting system.
Yeah, the online system can be a little glitchy sometimes. I know that it's South Sound system. But I think they have plans to improve it, but it can be a little glitchy. If somebody tries reporting something online and it's not working, my recommendation is to call the non-emergency number. Because what can happen then is there are online or phone reports that they can take over the phone that don't need an officer to respond. So that would be my next step if the online reporting is not working.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, it's Ray. A couple questions. How's the academy going? I understood the first class that was held had some protesters there to encourage the attendees, and how's it been going since then?
Yeah, it's been going quite well. A very engaged group. There were protesters out, I think, in 2 different classes. They were out front. We have, just so you know, we have demonstrators that are out in front of the station every other Thursday. There's a group of about 10 of them. They're just holding signs, nothing malicious. I think there was one time a couple months ago where they wrote a bunch of stuff in chalk on the front sidewalk area, but that was it. They don't bother the class attendees when they're coming in, and the class attendees don't bother them. So it's been pretty benign as far as that goes. The class is going well. Like I said, everybody seems engaged and seems to be enjoying it.
I appreciate you didn't hold my last name against my son who's attending. And he found the motor vehicle experience very exciting. My wife also did that in UP, and she came back and she was a monster for about 3 or 4 days. She'd never done anything like that in a vehicle before.
Yeah, getting to drive a police car is, at least from the last class, was a highlight for a lot of people.
How's the support rallies that have been sporadic? About 3, I think, in the last 6 weeks. How's that look from the inside of the wall? How are you guys seeing it there with the accumulation?
It's definitely positive. It's definitely positive. That we always enjoy any support we can get. One of the, the concern when you hear about people coming to support us, a lot of times that can be more about opposing the people that are here as opposed to supporting us. But there's a subtle difference there. But what we've seen is some genuine support for us and our officers, and it's definitely appreciated when they come and go and see the people waving and supporting them.
And did the fireworks ban passage carry with it any apprehensions about enforcement, or is it likely to see the same level of enforcement, sort of accidental, or have you analyzed that yet?
No, our focus first is on the education part. We know what it's going to take to enforce, and it's going to take extra personnel out on the street. And and a couple of years of enforcement before it really starts to, maybe change the culture or it sinks in. But just given the nature of what it is, we're going to look at some pretty strong educational efforts for the first 2 years, or this coming summer and next at least, before we get into enforcement.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ray. Can you articulate just briefly what those education measures might look like?
Yeah, it's going to be, to start off, something basic like social media. It's going to be having people out when we do see people lighting fireworks. Go out. We're going to have flyers that we can give people saying, here's the new law that goes into effect next year. And that'll be on the 3rd and 5th that we're doing that, so people know when, they're not supposed to be lighting them. And trying to make as much personal contact and just reinforcing that message, whether it's through our community groups. We'll call on some of you when you go to meet with your neighborhood associations to sort of spread that educational message, and us just in person doing it as well, just to do as much as we can to get the word out over the course of 2 years.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions or comments, please?
I have one more. Chief, can we get, well, first of all, board members, committee members, has anyone seen the latest update on the traffic improvements that are going on about the city? Roundabouts, all those type structures and road improvements? Okay, so I just asked if
I have. I drive through a roundabout a couple times a day. I'd say there needs to be some education on some people's parts.
Yeah, I was going to ask if not only just education in the parts, but if we could just get a brief for the committee so that we could at least share some of that or with people so they understand the improvements that are going on within the roads around the city, because there's quite a bit going on. And you're right, a lot of people need a good education on how to negotiate the roundabouts.
Sure. I know our public works director puts out or keeps good track of the different projects that they have going, and has, they didn't just pick roundabouts by chance. They've done studies and know how they're intended to be used and driven around. So I'm sure he'd be happy to put something together. I'll reach out to him and I will push it out through Joanna.
Thank you. And I know it's a living document because things change, but it'd be nice to have a periodic update once every quarter or 2 quarters so that we could disseminate to people so people understand what the consolidated view is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think it's the concern is really, and I think I brought this up before, is it's obviously the speed at which some people enter the roundabouts. As I slow up to it, I'm looking to see if I could flow through. And then out of, this one of the sides there, somebody's coming up at above the speed limit. And so you either have to make a decision of giving them way, just braking and going ahead and let them go, discretion, part of valor there, or you go ahead and flow in and hopefully they don't broadside you. But that's the problem is some of the designs are such that it allows the vehicles to proceed into these smaller circles at a greater speed even than what they're posted. So.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Anything else for the chief? Okay, thank you, Chief Sauer. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ken. I will say real quick, Todd, nice to see you. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business. The joint meeting with City Council was August 24th. Just want to say thank you for those of you that attended. I know that there were at least one person who attended and tried to make comment, but was scaring the heck out of the rest of us. So I'm not sure what was happening there, but I think you got that figured out, did you, Ray?
That was a national defense test to see if your hearing was good. Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but I felt like I had a contribution to make, but it didn't look equal to or exceeding the pain you all were feeling.
Very good. So anyway, I think it went well. I'm not sure if there's anything else I can add to it. Those of you that attended, if you have any other comments or. anything about it, so. Okay, great. Well, there you go. So the next thing on is recruitment for PSAC. Obviously, we are in a very difficult challenge to try to recruit, and some of our efforts early on, I guess Todd is kind of an example of recruiting that we started kind of late last year, early this year. So, but anything happening, anybody else doing any kind of outreach or recruiting or trying to find some methods that might work? Great.
I guess I wonder, are there, I saw the announcements for recruitment through the Sub-Times. Has anybody through social media, like the various network, neighborhood groups and things, gone and posted requests for admission? Ironically, with all of the Sub-Times information, I saw someone complaining in the neighborhood groups that they don't know why they weren't asked, or there weren't more people that they were familiar with that were on the board, on the committee.
Well, we've got a problem with that. Some of the neighborhood associations are in hibernation right now. Springbrook and Tillicum are both areas that we would like to get representation from, but they're in hibernation, so it's pretty hard to meet with them and see if they can stir up somebody that would be interested in doing it. But I think we just got to keep pushing and try to get people from some of these areas that are underrepresented right now.
I don't know, Ken, for over years, every few months brought it up at the North Lakewood Community Association. And Mark has probably mentioned it in the peripheral conversations, as have I, but I don't have one of those big social network trees. I don't really care for much. My big trip is like 3 times since March. I went to Fife, so I'm not seeing a lot of folks.
Can I ask, when you said Facebook and then you mentioned the neighborhood groups, for me, I assumed you meant the neighborhood groups on Facebook. Did you actually mean the associations in the city or on the Facebook groups?
I meant those Facebook groups that report to their own neighbors.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that I'm part of like 3 of them. And I'll say I never thought to throw it on there. So that's a great idea, speaking for myself. If that's something you guys wanted me to do in the future, absolutely I can. I know you guys try to take it out to the neighborhood association meetings, but I never thought to throw it on Facebook. So that's something I can do.
Is Silicon part of that Facebook group that you're monitoring, Joanna?
Honestly, I want to say no. I don't want to lose this. Let me look it up on my phone really quick.
Yeah, we invited them back in February, March, just before COVID, before the shutdown. And we haven't heard anything from them, but we did invite them personally at their meeting.
So when I go to, so I've got 3 of them that I know of. There's Lakewood Life, and the Lakewood Washington Neighborhood Watch. I'm on that one. So maybe there's only 2. I thought there was a 3rd one, but it's not popping up right now.
There is another one, Joanne, it's called Lakewood Community, something like that.
Oh, there it is. And I'm in that one too. Sorry. Yeah, I said it. So I have those 3 that I'm in, but none of them, when I'm looking at that, it's not specific to the neighborhood. They're all trying to monitor like all of Lakewood.
Right.
So
that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. And Todd, if you actually have links to specific groups, could we, maybe you could send those to us or to Joanna? And
yeah, if I'm missing any, throw them at me.
Yeah, and there's a couple of apps that are neighborhood oriented also.
Okay.
Right, like Open Door.
The North neighborhood is well represented. We've got 4 from there on the board right now. So
we're really trying to look for some more diversity and certainly different areas of the city. So somehow we got to be able to reach them. So thank you for that. That's great.
If I can throw one more thing in, I will add that not to discourage, but I know that the city council isn't jumping on adding a bunch of people right now. I know we had to ask a couple of times to get who we see right here approved at this last month's meeting because of COVID, because of the Zoom, all of that stuff. So I won't say that it's going to be quick. That we can do this, but I'm not telling you that that means we're going to get somebody right away. Does that make sense? I just know that they're a little overloaded.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on to new business. And so new business, this is the time of year where we come up with nominations and elections for chair and vice chair. Both positions are open for nominations. So I will entertain any nominations right now or volunteerism for chair at this moment.
I suggest we just, because of the lack of meetings this year, we just re-elect the officers we have so we get a full year's work out of them.
I second that, and I feel we've deprived Ken of the full abilities he's got with his limited opportunities this year.
Thank you.
Told you, Ken.
Besides, he's the one who knows, who's best able to use Zoom, so we need him.
That's one of the best ideas I've heard for a long time. Let's go with it.
You
That
guys
was pretty unanimous.
I didn't know I was going to get ambushed here tonight. What in the world? So so actually, I think I appreciate that. I think, that's very, I'm not even sure if it's kind or not, but anyway, I do think we need to entertain if there is somebody that would like to step in and take over as chair or be nominated or would like to volunteer, then we need to entertain that. So who would like to volunteer? Okay. I mean, is anybody that's not here that we can volunteer? Okay.
No, we have a quorum. I mean, we have more than quorum. We are full. This is it. This is everybody here. That's amazing. That's a good night.
Well,
I formally then move that we re-elect Ken as chair and Mark as vice chair.
Jim.
I mean, you can have Mark too, but it's Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jim is vice chair.
I'm sorry.
So James.
I thought I got lassoed.
Yep, I hope you do get lassoed, Mark.
Good try, Alan.
Mark thought he left the room and he didn't even get out of his chair.
James, are you willing to serve again?
I have no problem with it. Just as if Mark wants to do it, it's be good for Mark. I got quite a few things that I do in the community, so.
I didn't say I wanted it, Mr. Harrison. Thank you.
That's Colonel to you.
Well, I would like to nominate Ray, but will you like to take over chair, Ray?
I'm out of volunteering business for a short time. I got on this committee against the immunization I had against volunteering. Thank you for the sentiment.
Okay. Well, we do have a motion on the floor to kind of keep the status quo. So, okay, I guess I have to. Is there a second for that?
Oh, second.
I not to volunteer here, but I was thinking that we're looking to replace the chair, and I would be willing to move into the vice chair as a kind of a mentoring, grooming up, but not jump right into the frying pan. So I'm willing to do that, but not right into the chair. So.
Okay, well, we still have a motion, and then it was seconded.
There were so many, I don't know who to write down.
So, Mark, but I think James seems to be okay with doing that. So, but that's truly up to him. But
I have no problem if you want to put Mark in there. That's not a problem with me whatsoever. Like I said,
No, I
I
said.
can, I support from any
Would you-
position.
Hang on just a minute.
Like I
I have
said.
to run to my neighbor's house and have a discussion with him.
You stay where you are, Mark.
You know, Mark, the way they did that, they had a chat that none of us could see.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, Lord.
I think, isn't it a bit somehow not disingenuous, but something about if I didn't get a full year, and how is it James gets out of having not a full year? Okay, never mind.
There are a lot of protests.
I think if we were following protocol, then we need to vote on the motion that was seconded. Is that correct, or do we need to also consider Mark's proposition?
I'm feeling like maybe we need to separate them and vote on them separately so
Probably
that,
be smart.
right, thank you. So do chair first and then have a vote for vice chair.
Okay.
I
That
move
is correct.
we re-elect Ken as chair.
So we have to re-motion. So Alan has moved that the chair
I
is.
second Alan's motion.
I don't, but anyway. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. And no. Okay, so that motion will carry and Ken Whitco will be elected new chair. So moving on to vice chair.
I move we re-elect James as vice chair.
So does
That's
Mark
fine.
be reelected?
Sorry, I had an interruption. What was that? I apologize.
I move we re-elect James as vice chair.
And I said I decline. I will gladly give it up to Ken. To Mark.
Oh my goodness, declined, okay.
We're clarifying Mark Terry.
Mark Terry.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark
I
said it.
second that, I second that motion.
Not Mark Pila. We already talked. It's you, Mark Terry.
Yes.
Okay, so James, you're motioning for Mark Terry.
Yeah, I would say I
Mark
decline.
seconded Mark.
Motion for Mark Terry. There's too many marks. And Pila, second. Thank you.
Alan had a motion for James to stay in place there, so we have to consider that.
But, well, he declined it, and so
Oh,
far,
Yes.
he declined. Okay.
Yes, he did.
So,
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
I just want to make sure we're.
And we will talk later, James. I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay, Ken.
Yeah, Mark Terry, he found his parachute while we were talking, so. he-
I welcome Mark Terry to, anyway,
We should probably vote on it.
so.
did we vote on that?
We need
So
to
all in
vote.
favor of the motion to elect Mark Terry to vice chair? Say aye if you approve.
Aye.
Okay. And opposed? Great, the ayes have it. Mark will be the new vice chair. Man, am I going to load him up. Kidding. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Preview of next meeting, January 2nd. We had a preview.
December 2nd?
Right, which is, so we don't meet in November. The next time we meet is December 2nd. Okay. Any thoughts about that? Anything that needs to be added or talked about at that meeting?
I am, while you guys all think about that, I'm looking it up really quick because I'm blanking what we had listed. I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like we were just going to work on the work plan. Is
Yep.
that still
That's what has to happen. Yep.
okay?
Yeah, that has to happen. Yep. Okay. Perfect. And if I can't remember, was it you, James, that mentioned something, or Ray, about having Scott's team come make a presentation? So we need to figure out when we can do that and when that would be appropriate.
I had asked that the chief to look into the city to come and talk about the road structure. He said he would get that through Joanna, and Joanna would provide that to us by writing. So
Okay.
Maybe
So-
we could get the chief to preview the education on the fireworks with us. I mean, that's been an issue we've dealt with forever. When they get their education thing kind of going to make a presentation to us.
Okay. You got all those, Joanna?
I did. I'm also wondering if somebody, I thought somebody asked Chief Adams about, sorry, Squad 21. Is that
Right.
going to be in future as well? I don't know when.
Well, I think Scott said the program is funded through the end of the year. Possibly they'll have some data collected before the program possibly ends. My other interest was the amount of equipment, manpower that responds to medical calls. Somebody can get the slides from the chief's West Pierce Fire and Rescue Levy presentations. He covers it very capably, but it's still kind of baffling.
So is this something you want me to add to December, or are we looking into February?
How about on the work plan?
Throwing that on the work plan for next year?
Somebody mentioned enforcement, and I think that would be a question that would be nicely addressed here for the fireworks. With the new fireworks laws and with the ongoing fireworks laws, what is the enforcement intent?
That could probably go along with the presentation on the training.
On the educational part to the public that would be included.
I heard Mr. Camfield talk to the North Neighborhood Association, and he mentioned that the city council was working on trying to get a rail station here in Lakewood so that the trains would have to slow down and pick people up. Maybe we could put that on our works plan to have somebody from the city come in now, maybe in the latter part of the year, to report on that.
and there's still a due out on the crossing. The crossing issue that we had discussed and is over a year and a half old now. Clover Creek crossing with the rail line.
And correct me, my memory on that is that Councilmember Branstetter was going to take that back.
He did, and as a matter of fact, the last meeting that we had, they had a meeting immediately following that with the railroad.
Okay.
And I stayed online and just listened to that. There's no mention of it there, so I'm just trying to follow up to see if they're going to do something that's going to help the citizens that live in that area.
So I don't know if this is the correct time to throw it out there, but because we don't have a meeting in November, currently, obviously, everything is still open to change thanks to COVID. We have tentatively scheduled the Fallen Officers Food Drive for November 19th, significantly before the date, unlike previous years, but trying to kind of beat that Thanksgiving rush. And and again, tentatively at this point, right now, it's scheduled for the 19th with the blood drive again. And I can definitely keep you all posted, but just put that on your radar since we're not meeting next month.
Is that going to be at the station again?
Yes, the plan is for as much as possible to be the same as every other year, but we are going to have to discuss the COVID restrictions and precautions and how we're going to handle that. So that's on the agenda for me meeting with the chief. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Hey, thank you very much.
Hey, Ken,
Yes.
One other thing we might ask to put on our work plan is when we had the, I forget what department they are, the people that came and told us about the streets and the lighting, they were gonna put all that lighting in. Maybe get an update on where they're at on that.
Was that Public Works?
Public Works, yes.
I would like to ask Joanna if there's a possibility to reach out to Councilmember Branstetter and actually ask what is the council's, does the council have any issues that they would like us to talk about or discuss, focus on? That is part of our mission statement.
And because I wasn't there, did they give you anything at the joint meeting? I know that sometimes they do. No? Okay.
I feel like if I would have, if something came to memory, it would have been important. So I don't know. I don't think it was, but I think James, you were there. I know Ray was there, and I don't recall that they had anything for us. In fact, I think I asked at the time, was there something? Oh, Mark was there too, and they didn't come up with anything. But,
They didn't have anything.
okay, thank you. But they could now, so.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports from boards and board members and staff, community outreach reports. Anything, because we're not meeting, but I think North Lakewood certainly's meeting at Zoom meeting. I think I missed the last one.
Yeah, we had a Zoom meeting and Mr. Canfield was there and kind of gave an update on what's been going on with the city. And he kind of talked about where their budget was and it didn't look like they were going to get hurt too bad. The farmer's market was extended and some just general things of the city. Probably nothing that should come before the committee.
Thank you. Anything else from any other committees? Thank you. Pending policy and ordinance changes. Do we have, oh, we don't have anything there.
I think just the fireworks.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Mark.
Yeah, quick thing. So I serve also, let me show this here. So I serve on the Zoo Society board as a member. So my thought is as I'm out and about getting donations for the Jubilee coming up here in November, my thought is maybe it could actually help as a recruitment tool if we had something that said like Lakewood Public Safety Advisory, committee member or something like that, that just shows who you are. So if people see that, they can ask about it and say, hey, what is this? And you can explain it to them versus, I'm walking about in my life, I'm not saying wear it everywhere into the store or anything like that, but when you're at a function, you could wear it and it could maybe drive a little recruitment or at least interest.
So we have some history about that. I think, Ray, do you, somebody, or I don't know, we already have a history.
Yeah, I brought that up some time back. This is my second run at the committee. And about 4 years in, I realized that I was fairly invisible when I went where there might be vulnerable people with ideas or thoughts or complaints. And so a few years into that, the chief, prior to Chief Zorro, issued a Public Safety Advisory Committee member card. Brett pulled me aside and reminded me that it did not include any powers of arrest or firearms carrying. And I worked with the city staff and got an approved sort of embroidered emblem that I put on a hat, put on a jacket. And it actually brought some spontaneous comments, mostly as what is it? But that at least gives you a seed to work from. Because generally on this committee, except for personal interest, you only hear about problems and usually they're pretty bad by the time we hear about it. I was going to various places where a gathering got there and they didn't have any rites of passage to get in. And I would just wander around. I'd try to look nice, make sure my hair was combed and wait for the questions about what is that PSAC thing. So I still have, I think the company that did the embroidering still has that on file in their repertoire. And I still think it's a good idea. I've got a closet full of that stuff. It seems to help when you represent stuff. You have an identity. And there's so many scams and hustles going on that even though we can all make whatever we want on these computers, it at least says you went a step further and got it codified somehow. but I don't think the city's rescinded its approval of it, but it was an interesting year-long approval process. They want to make sure anything representing them visually they could live with. So I can show those either at a Zoom meeting or if we get back in person. But so there exists a jacket, there exists a prototype of a badge, there exists a prototype for a hat with an embroidered cap on it, should that be of interest.
So remind me, I think maybe James or maybe even Alan, wasn't there at some point a little bit of pushback about that from the city? I felt like there was something. I can't. Joanna, do you remember? Does anybody recall?
Yeah, we're not official city employees, so we really shouldn't be wearing the city logo or.
Well, they approved it. I mean, I was in City Hall 10 or 12 times over a 3-month period. It went through all these office chiefs. So at least at that point in time, and that was about when John was coming on board. I don't know if it got to his personal attention. So
Well, I mean, to say that I'm not a Metro Park employee either, but they give us this badge, just basically, like I said, I'm out there asking for a donation for the zoo, and at least it gives me something that, they recognize me and they see that board member little badge that I wear, and they give me a little vest to wear or whatever. But it's something, like I said, it perks somebody's interest if I'm walking around the farmer's market and they see me wearing something that says, Lakewood Public Safety Advisory member or something like that. And that's a good way to, I guess, perk some interest in recruitment or whatever.
So I know that what Ray said was true. It was approved. That was, however many years ago. It's certainly something that I can broach with the chief and see if he thinks anything's changed or if we need to run it through again or, kind of get his take on it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, you're done? Oh, James, you got nothing? Okay. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, then thank you all.
Oh, I just dug into the.
Oh my goodness.
And a polo shirt.
Yeah.
I like the one that spells it out, though. It says what it is. That's nice. So.
So those at the time this went through the city, they were approved upside down, backwards, and inside out. That may have changed, but I wouldn't know. We can follow up if it's interesting.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ray. All right. Appreciate everybody being here. If I have a motion to adjourn, or do I need
Move
one?
to adjourn.
And
Second.
And I think we're all approved, right?
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Nice Thanksgiving, by the way.
Oh yeah, you too.
And congratulations, Joanna.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, take care.
You too. Hey, Todd. Oh, too late.